me welcome you to the May Day 2025 celebration put on by Toronto Socialist Action.
Very close to the mic.
I appreciate you all being here. And yeah, we acknowledge that this gathering takes place on the unceded territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Haudenosaunee people and all Indigenous lands of Turtle Island. We join in the fight for justice, recognizing that there can be no real reconciliation without restitution. Land back that entails seizing the assets of the big resource corporations and returning to them to the commons. Around the world, millions are marking the occasion on the streets. Workers demand proper health care, a living wage for all, an end to the tariff war, an end to the genocide in Palestine, the inter-imperialist war in Ukraine, and an end to the destruction of the environment, and a halt to big business rule. I'm Corey David. I'm a member of the Amalgamated Transit Union Local 113, and I'm an operator for the TTC. I'm a Central Committee member of Socialist Action and your host this evening. Currently, we are celebrating the 31st anniversary of the founding of Socialist Action in Canada. Our annual International Education Conference will be held online 4 weeks from now, on Saturday, June 7th. We warmly invite you to attend online. It will feature speakers from across Canada and from Mexico and Britain. Please don't miss it, and if you want to change the world, get directly involved in our party, we warmly invite you to join Socialist Action. You can fill out an application form at the table at the front there. And now I'd like to take a moment to remember the departed in the struggle that we've lost over the past year. It is a fitting time that we remember those who helped to build the socialist and working class movement. Through a lifetime of dedication, we want to honor the lives of some outstanding individuals who passed away within the last year. Judith Leslie Deutsch, a longtime anti-war activist and brilliant scientist, passed away on April 14th at the age of 80. She was a founding member of Independent Jewish Voices and a former president of Science for Peace. She taught at the University of Toronto, worked as a psychoanalyst, and spread her personal warmth and sharp wit far and wide. She and her husband Jim Deutsch frequently spoke at Rebel Films and other Socialist Action events. Judy is already greatly missed. Also, like to remember Al Angler, at age 85, passed away 9 months ago. In the early 1960s, Al and his partner, Jean Rands, were major figures in the Young Socialist of Canada, the youth organization of League for Socialist Action. When Al and Jean arrived in Toronto around 1961, they brought with them the spirit of the historic victory in Saskatchewan for Medicare. Within the Young Socialist, Al and Jean argued for more emphasis on political work with the radical wing of the student activists, foreshadowing the May-June 1968 Youth Rebellion in France and beyond. Al worked for 20 years on towboats and was repeatedly elected to full-time positions in his union local, now known as ILWU Local 400. Al Angler was the uncle of Yves Angler, the foremost critic of Canadians' foreign policy. Mary Little, formerly known as George Little, passed away during emergency surgery on January 15th. She was a longtime postal worker and a member of Socialist Action and its predecessor parties. One of Marie's last ventures outside her home was to walk on the CUPW picket lines in Vancouver just before the strike was terminated by the Liberal government. Her determination to do so despite health difficulties will be remembered. Darrell Tingley, a former president of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, 92 to 2002, and before that National Director for the Union's Atlantic region, passed away just days ago. We will long remember his militant example. Tonight we also honor the memory of tens of thousands of victims of Zionist genocide in Gaza and the West Banks, and we honor the countless others who fell in struggle against imperialism and its client regimes. Please join me in observing a moment of silence in honor of all the artists, workers, militants, and socialists who have left us this past year. And remember also the April 28th is the day of mourning for those who died due to injury on the job. We remember the victims of unsafe working conditions. Thank you. Is Emily here? I'm not sure if Emily is here.
He's not here yet.
Okay. Okay. We're going to do the international.
I guess I got to do it.
Yeah, Barry Weisleiter, the Federal Secretary of Socialist Action, will lead us in the International. I'll just say a few words before we do the anthem of the Worldwide Socialist and Workers' Movement. I just want to remind everyone that it's important to reconstitute International Workers' Day here in North America. I mean, we have our Labor Day, which is put on by the capitalists, by the owning class, by the national bourgeoisie of this country to separate us from the rest of the world and the struggles that go on there. And we need to reconnect with the workers' struggle across the world for liberation and creation of a just society. So let's sing the International.
Comrades and friends, you'll see that the words are on a white sheet at your table, so please take a look. And it's available in 3 languages, so sing it as you wish. Sing it the way you learned it. Arise, ye prisoners of starvation, arise, ye wretched of the earth, for justice thunders condemnation, a better world's in birth. No more traditions chains shall bind us, arise ye slaves, no more enthrall. The earth shall rise on new foundations, we have been not, we shall be all. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The international working class shall be the human race. 'Tis the final conflict, let each stand in their place. The international working class shall be the human race.
Solidarity forever. Sisters and brothers, comrades and friends, siblings, once again, welcome to the 39th Annual Toronto Socialist Action May Day celebration. Can you imagine, for 39 years we have sustained this fabulous celebration. I extend warm greetings to our friends across Canada, in the United States, Mexico, Europe, and beyond. We'll see the video recording of this event on the SA YouTube channel. With special thanks to Sean Kane. I also thank the political producer of this event, SA Federal Secretary Barry Weisleiter, who has worked very hard to put this event together, along with all other comrades who contributed to this event. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our first guest speaker, Nigel Barriffe. He is a school teacher and the Vice President of the Elementary Teachers of Toronto. He has also served as Board Chair of the Urban Alliance on Race Relations and is an executive member of the Toronto and York Region Labour Council. A proud dad, musician, and songwriter, Nigel brings heart and soul to every struggle for justice. His work is rooted in building solidarity, fighting for dignity, and creating a more just and sustainable world. So here's Nigel.
Thanks so much, Corey. I'm so humbled and grateful to be here with all of you today. As you heard, my name is Nigel Barriffe, and I'm not speaking actually on behalf of any organization today. I'm here as a human being, as a teacher, and as a unionist, and as a father raising a beautiful, brilliant, young black Jewish boy. This fight we're in against racism, white supremacy, and the silencing of truth isn't theoretical, it's personal. It's in our schools, our classrooms, our unions. So let me tell you a few real stories happening right now in the Toronto District School Board. Educators, mostly young racialized workers, are being dragged into opportunity to respond meetings. Why? Because they said, I see you, I support you, I acknowledge the genocide Palestinians are facing. That's all it takes right now to get investigated. So, shame. No suspensions yet, but a clear message. Stay silent or else. Is that justice?
No.
Is that education?
No.
No, hell no. I received a libel notice from B'nai B'rith because I told the truth.
Be proud.
Thank you. I said the Friends of Simon Wiesenthal, as reported by the CBC, instructed staff to spy on students and teachers.
Shame.
Shame.
Shame. I said the Center for Israeli and Jewish Affairs, CIJA, falsely accused students at Mark Garneau Collegiate in Toronto of anti-Semitism.
Everything is anti-Semitism.
And I said B'nai B'rith has spied on my friend, fellow educator, Javier Davila, a respected scholar and compassionate teacher. They tracked his public activities, circulated dossiers on him, and fueled attacks for his work supporting equity and social justice. B'nai B'rith also publicly dismissed Jewish organizations who denounced anti-Palestinian racism as fringe groups, suggesting there's a hierarchy of legitimate Jewish voices in Canada. That kind of rhetoric not only demeans those organizations, it implies that the concerns of anti-racist Jewish people, including many of my friends, are not valid or welcome. And here's what else. B'nai B'rith assumed carriage of the Ontario College of Teachers complaint against Javier Davila, a complaint filed by Michael Tepper, who by his own admission has said he digs up dirt on anti-Zionists. To this day, Mr. Davila remains an educator in good standing in Ontario. There has been no sanction from the college, and he's never been disciplined by the TDSB over this matter. These are facts, and for speaking them, I got a libel notice. So I lawyered up, and you know what my lawyer told me? He said, you don't have to walk anything back. You told the truth. When it's the truth, what do?
Speak it.
We speak it. We stand by our word. Hell yeah, we do. That's right. The truth is protected. It's called qualified privilege. But the goal of these attacks is to intimidate us, to chill solidarity, to make support for Palestine feel like a risk. Got another story for you. You'll love this one. Let me tell you about what happened just last fall. A story that says everything about where we are and why we must be fighting. Students from across Toronto joined the River Run in support of Grassy Narrows, an Indigenous community poisoned by mercury for decades. The intent of the trip was clear: to engage students with the urgent crisis facing Grassy Narrows, to root their learning in the truth and reconciliation, and to show them what justice seeking can look like. But instead of support, educators were attacked. Media headlines distorted the purpose of the trip. Certain Ontario politicians accused us of indoctrinating students. Some claimed it was a Palestine rally because students drew parallel between colonialism in Canada and in Palestine.
Well.
So, and the TDSB? Well, the TDSB apologized publicly without even investigating. That apology gave the impression that we had done something wrong. It fed the fire of anti-Palestinian and anti-Indigenous racism. And now the record has been cleared. The final report confirms what we always knew. No wrongdoing occurred. No students were forced to participate. No policy was broken. Just teachers doing their jobs, supporting students becoming informed, engaged students. But this is a pattern we've seen before. Frontline educators being blamed for systemic problems they didn't create. The Ontario government fanning the flames of misinformation instead of dealing with underfunding of injustice. Is that leadership?
No.
Is that justice?
No.
So let's be honest. This wasn't just about politics. It was about education, truth, justice, Indigenous rights. And we will not apologize for that.
Right on.
But siblings, this isn't just about me. This is about all of us. They're trying to criminalize care, police compassion, shut down solidarity. And we say,
Hell no.
we say stand up, fight back. We say hell no. We say not today. If they try to silence us, what do we get? We get louder.
Louder.
If they try to scare us, what do we get? We get stronger. We get braver. Yeah. If they try to divide us, we unite. Yeah. So let's say it clearly. Criticizing a country is not anti-Semitism. Criticizing Israel is not hate speech. We criticize Canada. We criticize the United States. We criticize Doug Ford, Carney, and all the rest of them. Damn. Is that hate? No. What is it?
Political opinion.
It's democracy. It's democracy. So this is May Day. This is our day. A day for workers. A day for resistance. A day for freedom. So let's be clear. Free speech is a workers' issue. Justice is a workers' issue. And Palestine is a workers' issue. No, we will not be silenced. We will not back down. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. It's our time. It's our city. It's our movement. Solidarity forever. Now, I want to sing a song for you that I wrote, born from this struggle. It's called Palestine Be Free. It's a bit of a call and response song that I'm hugely intimidated by with all these superstar artists that are in the house right now.
You're one of them.
No, nice try. Nice try. I'm glad I get to go first. Let's put it that way. So I'm gonna say, when I say Palestine, you're gonna say be free. Okay? And it's a little bit of a rhythmic, so we'll process it. So, and then I'll say again, Palestine, and you're gonna say be free. And then I'm gonna say, in unity we plead, Palestine,
Be free.
Let's try one more time. Palestine,
Be free.
Palestine,
Be free.
in unity we plead, Palestine,
Be free.
When I look upon the world, I see things unfurl, and we know they're not right by me. Well, it's time to take a stand, hand in hand, across the land, for the freedom we demand. Let it be. Palestine, be free. Palestine, be free. In unity we plead. Palestine, be free. Well, it's time. We've seen the walls and wires. Situation's dire. It's a small against the iron. We agree. Well, the problem's clear to see. Colonialism and tyranny, imperial powers be. Set them free. Palestine, be free. Palestine, be free. In unity we plead. Palestine, be free. From the river to the sea, a plea for unity. Jewish boys and girls and unity. Together strong stand against the seizing hand. A diversified band. We all hear the voices cry underneath the same sky. Palestinian dreams arise. Nazis, racism must end. All these set them free. Palestine, be free, free. Palestine, be free. In unity we plead. Palestine, be free. Palestine, be free. Palestine, be free. In unity we plead. Palestine, be free. One love.
I gotta find my place here. Oh, thank you so much, Nigel. That was amazing. All right, I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Meagan Christou. Is Meagan Christou is here? I'm assuming. Okay, there you are. Fantastic. I hope I'm saying your last name correctly, and your first name. Okay. Anyways, they're an executive board member of the Ontario Public Service Employee Union in Toronto, Region 5. She's the past secretary of the Young Workers Committee for the OPSEU Local, and was a strike captain for Local 535 strike at Art Gallery of Ontario. Meagan was and a dozen colleagues were punished by the AGO after the strike, and they lost their jobs. An unfair labor practice was launched in late fall of 2024. Shame indeed. Meagan's political work focuses on bringing voice and power to the marginalized, including on issues of precarious work and living. She successfully wrote and won a constitution amendment at OPSEU to extend union membership for precarious workers, and successfully wrote and won a resolution against two-tier bargaining at OPSEU, and launched the first series of Labor for Palestine educationals at OPSEU, winning the union's Human Rights Award in 2024. A big warm welcome for Meagan. Thank you so much.
I'm really excited to be here. I am representing OPSEU CEFBO, but I would say the leftist faction of OPSEU CEFBO.
That's the best faction.
The best faction, I would say. So obviously we're here today commemorating our fallen comrades from Chicago's Haymarket Square Massacre, which happened in May 1886. And of course we celebrate all of our fellow trade unionists and activists who have dedicated themselves especially to the international workers' struggle. Building on the values of equality, solidarity, and internationalism, I'm really pleased to be here today with you all. But I also want to reflect a little bit on Canada's May Day history. And I think this will be important because it actually might reveal some things that have just happened due to the recent election. And it wasn't until the beginning of the 20th century that May Day saw protests in Canada. Canadian print media at the time painted a very hostile pictures of the May Day protests that were happening in Europe, and that made May Day here feel subversive and violent. And union representatives here submitted to the corporate elite. They submitted to the federal government, agreeing to favor Labor Day, which we celebrate in September. This brought forward the idea of a peaceful coexistence between capital and labor, which we know as workers is not possible. Exactly. So the first Canadian-based International Workers' Day celebrations took place in Montreal in 1906. Almost 1,000 people roamed the city streets before they all gathered to meet. They were invited by the Socialist Workers' Party, the Industrial Workers' Union, and other social democratic groups. They congregated under the flag, which we all know now as Travailleurs du monde unissons nous, so workers of the world unite. Attendees were mainly comprised of immigrant workers. Speeches were made in English, French, and Russian, and Italian. May Day demonstrations in Montreal gave confrontations with law enforcement, which we still see in places around the world. I'm sure if you're like me and on the social media, you saw our comrades in France get the absolute crap kicked out of them by the cops. And even at this time, there were tensions within the labor movement at the beginning of Labor Day. So on one hand, there was an ideological intensification taking place Montreal Trade and Labor Council had declined the invitation to join because it's asserted that it did not share socialist principles. It recognized no other Labor Day than the one celebrated on the first Monday in September. And the other struggle, on the other hand, was one of an opposition existing between nationalism and internationalism. Do these things not sound very familiar 100 years later? And we still see these tensions today, and I come to speak to you today after OPSEU SEFPO's 2025 April convention, where we did witness a rightward shift in our voting delegation. Dozens of members voted against a resolution to reaffirm the commitment to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and to include that our commitment to 2S LGBTQAI+ Indigenous people, although it thankfully did pass, to see even a single vote against it was horrifying. A constitutional amendment that aimed to rename the Coalition of Racialized Workers to the Coalition of Black and Racialized Workers failed. A resolution that would have created accountability for training, which all elected positions were already required to attend, failed after speeches given by predominantly white local presidents on how the union could not force them to be accountable. A resolution to increase equity representation in our convention delegation failed. And a rejection for our union to sign on to an arms embargo to support our Palestinian comrades failed.
Shame.
This brings us back to a point that I think we're all very aware of, especially in socialist, communist, leftist circles. Working class consciousness is uneven, and it often finds itself caught in these cul-de-sacs of capitalist ideology, working around and around itself again. In our advanced capitalist countries, the ruling class possesses political and organizational reserves, which we frankly don't have. They control and manipulate masses of workers and masses of other people in Canada. Without a real and tangible left alternative, young people and workers are turning to the Conservatives. These trends, this encroaching threat to our sovereignty in the South, further restrictions to our democratic rights and freedoms seen wielded by neoliberal governments. I'm thinking about Section 107, which was used to collapse the postal strike. I'm thinking about Ford's use of the notwithstanding clause in Ontario to curb the rights of education workers. And I'm thinking about Toronto City Council's proposed bubble zone legislations, which wouldn't allow any of us to go on strike because Toronto is such a dense city. When I was on strike at the AGO, cultural institutions are on the list for Toronto bubble protest zones. We wouldn't be allowed to go on strike. LCBO workers at the OPSEU SEFPO union would not be able to go on strike. Some of their locations are near schools, religious centers. Many of these places listed on the bubble zones. We say no. We say shelve the bubble zones.
Yeah.
Our own voting system, which we just witnessed failing us again, resulted in the same tired results. This continued rule means it is only a matter of time before all workers' organizations and democratic rights are annihilated. So now, we must work tirelessly for a united front. Revolutionaries like yourselves in this room must link arms with fellow workers and grassroots activists to fight our common enemy. And this working class unity must be demonstrated through action, which you do, and not just, but also education. It is up to us to provide strategies and structures to develop the resistance. Change will not arise purely from the worker struggle, but from all oppressed people fighting for liberty, equality, justice, and winning it. So thank you, Socialist Action, for inviting OPSEU SEFPO to this space today, so that together we can share in the struggle with a common purpose. Thank you.
Julius Arscott, our beloved Julius Arscott, is a leading member of Socialist Action, and he better be here, and is its official spokesperson at this event. 3 times he was elected to the executive board of the Ontario Public Service Employees Union. He was the Workers' Action Movement candidate for top positions in the Canadian Labour Congress and the Ontario Federation of Labour. Julius continues as president of OPSEU Local 532, based in the Ministry of the Environment. He is a leading proponent of Palestinian rights and for class struggle unionism. Welcome, Julius.
Gonna raise this up.
face it. Oh, it's the wrong one. Can I? Just a little bit. There we go. Okay, so good evening, comrades, friends, siblings. International Workers' Day, unlike Labor Day in September, is the occasion to celebrate workers' solidarity, to defend our past gains, and to renew the struggle for socialism. May Day is rooted in the quest for a world without exploitation and oppression. Socialist Action has been at the forefront of these actions for decades. On May Day 2025, there are big challenges that include the trade war and some positive signs, among them the global movement of millions in solidarity with the Palestinian people. At a time when the only certainty is uncertainty, it is no exaggeration to apply the term crisis to the present situation. Indeed, capitalism is beset by a rising tide of crises. Whether we deal with the COVID pandemic and other looming biomedical dangers, or focus on the threat posed by global warming and environmental degradation, clearly, capitalism's fundamental inability to foster a sustainable relationship with the natural world is creating catastrophic conditions. As climate change impacts intensify and accelerate social, racial, and global inequality, the fight for measures that will enable working class people to survive will become a central aspect of the class struggle itself. The nature of both workplace and community-based forms of social resistance will be transformed. The most explosive question of all is the massive strategic shift that has been undertaken in the United States under Donald Trump's administration. Trump and his collaborators are part of an international phenomenon that has emerged over the last few years. Trump-like political forces have utilized a mood of post-2008 reactionary rage and advanced a brand of right-wing politics that, while it retains the framework of bourgeois democracy, advances a highly authoritarian and overtly racist and sexist agenda. It embraces the worst forms of bigotry and social backwardness while attacking workers' rights and the whole social infrastructure. Trump is more determined than ever to implement his agenda than he was during his first presidency, and we're seeing that. He's greatly enabled by the dismal failure of the Joe Biden Democratic Party government to generate a viable alternative. At the heart of his approach is a concept of America First, which represents a massive change of direction that flows from the decline of U.S. hegemonic power. Openly contemptuous to multilateral approaches, along with the institutions and alliances through which they operate, Trump's transactional approach is essentially to run a global extortion racket. A grotesque expression of this is Trump's resolve to own Gaza, to transform it into a Mediterranean Riviera for the rich, while the Zionist state moves relentlessly to complete the erasure of Palestinians from the West Bank. Similarly, Trump aims to settle the inter-imperialist war over Ukraine by dividing the rare earths and other resources of that country between Washington and Moscow. Clearly, the new Cold War is heating up. Needed is anti-war united front focus on opposing the actions of the NATO powers, particularly in relation to Palestine, Russia, Eastern Europe, Venezuela, Cuba, West Asia, and Africa. SA opposes the war drive of the Western capitalist rulers against China and Russia. At the same time, we oppose the Eastern despots and their corporate elites. We call for an end to the NATO proxy war in Ukraine against Russia and demand that Canada get out of NATO. We strive for independent, working class political action everywhere, especially on both sides of the Ukraine conflict. Free the anti-war prisoners in Russia. Free the anti-authoritarian prisoners in China and in the West. Defend the deformed worker states of China against imperialist attack. Oppose the U.S. military buildup in the Pacific. Celebrate the release of Julius Assange. Free the Columbia University student Mahmoud Khalil. No deportation of Mahmoud or anyone for expressing political opinions.
Right here.
In the Canadian state, Trump's tariff measures are having a devastating effect. Auto plants are closing for months at a time. Resource industries are laying off workers, and prices are soaring. The massive reliance on trade with the US is confronting Canadian capitalism with a severe reckoning. The implications for working class people show the urgency to reorient ourselves in this dramatically changing situation. Election results landed with a thud, disappointing most people across the political spectrum. Thanks to Donald Trump's economic war on Canada, the post-Justin Trudeau Liberals barely snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. The Labour-based NDP suffered a humiliating setback. The only ray of hope is the possibility of a party reboot that an NDP leadership race might start. Leader Jagmeet Singh, as you all know, lost his seat in Burnaby Central and recognized that it was time to go. Socialists are neither indifferent nor abstentionist towards elections. Where a party organically linked to unions runs candidates for office, we normally give such a party critical support. However, support for any capitalist party, the advocacy of a vote for a lesser evil, bourgeois party such as the Liberals, the Greens, or the Bloc Québécois, is totally out of bounds. It is akin to crossing a picket line. On that basis, socialists say vote NDP without illusions. Fight for a workers' government. The Liberal Party, now led by former top central banker Mark Carney, aims to place itself at the head of a patriotic alliance to resist the US trade measures and supposedly defend Canadian sovereignty. Yet nationalism will prove to be a dangerous diversion. Team Canada will rapidly reveal the competing class interests within it. The tactics of the Canadian capitalist class adopts in the face of the economic attacks coming from the Trump regime. However varied they may be, will all center on the need to preserve profits. This means that whether the Canadian corporations and government capitulates to US pressure or retaliate forcefully, the maximum effort will be made to ensure that the working class bears the burden of the conflict.
Right.
We may expect concessionary demands from employers, large-scale layoffs, and the rationalization of the workforce. Urgent is the need for an independent working class strategy that fights the enemy at home while building solidarity with workers in the US and Mexico. That was one positive thing that came out of the convention. We passed a motion at the OPSEU convention that called for that, and it passed with 80% support. The joint statement by Socialist Unity League in Mexico, SAUS, and SA Canada, which you can read at the Red Review number 19, promotes this perspective. Unsurprisingly, most union leaders and NDP politicians have accepted the notion of class collaboration as front behind a so-called national interest led by Canadian big business. Yet as workers and communities come under attack, the distinct class interests at play will become abundantly clear. The role of socialist militants in pressing for a fight back against our capitalists and their political representatives is sure to be critical. As every worker knows, there are two Canadas, one for the rich, another for everyone else.
That's right.
A trade war hurts workers on all sides. Protectionism is the enemy of the impoverished and powerless. The Team Canada uniform is camouflaged for social robbery. The alternative is Team Working Class. Its goal should be public ownership, money for jobs and justice, not for warfare.
Absolutely.
To name a few. Clearly, the major threat to the colonial settler state of Canada comes from the US. Well, why don't the Canadian Party leaders call for an immediate exit from US-dominated NATO or NORAD? Yes. But the money saved to put the money saved to better use. We contend that working class unity in action is the correct answer to the trade wars, not countervailing tariffs. Massive coordinated strikes by Mexican, American, and Canadian workers against the bosses are needed. Dump the trade warriors, fight for a workers' government. Such a radical reorientation will require massive changes in unions and the NDP from the bottom up, and we acknowledge that. We appeal to everyone here. We ask everyone in the labor movement and the social justice movements to work together for that kind of change. And I have beer written in here. I think that's
Another round. That's right.
SALAS continues to participate in the struggle against capitalist austerity, the boss's attack on wages, job security and pensions, and the scourge of autocratic power, police surveillance, and state repression. Capital is divided over how much to restrict civil liberties. This is evident in the application of the Federal Emergencies Act, which was used during the right-wing convoy antics, and in the current attack on pro-Palestinian activists such as Eve Engler, the Samadoun Prisoner Rights Campaign, and the Indigo 16.
Hands off Eve.
Hands off Eve. Social polarization and right-wing populists in Parliament embolden neo-Nazis and alt-right scum.
Yes.
The latest wave of attacks on women's reproductive rights and on trans people demonstrate vicious targeting. All the attacks must be repudiated.
Yeah.
The answer is not to call on the state to outlaw the radical rightists and Zionists. The rulers, of course, would use such laws primarily against workers and the left. Direct mass action by labor unionists, leftists, and allies will ensure that the policy, no platform for fascists and racists, prevails.
That's the way.
SA is in the forefront of solidarity with the Palestinian people, especially in the face of Zionist genocide against the residents of Gaza and Israeli occupation forces settler pogroms in the West Bank, not to mention moves by Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu towards dictatorship. On March 17th, Israel unilaterally ended a partial ceasefire with the resumption of heavy bombardment of Gaza. The delivery of food, water, and medicine is blocked. Zionist aggression in Lebanon and Syria, dire threats against Iran, and murderous U.S. attacks on Yemen continue. The defense of the Palestinian people means defending freedom of speech and assembly, which increasingly, as we all know, are under attack by police and governments. Falsely, they conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism in their bid to silence opponents of genocide, apartheid, and imperialism.
Shame.
We continue to demand Zionist ceasefire now, boycott, divestment, and sanctions against the Zionist state and economy, for the right to return of all refugees, smash the apartheid Zionist state and its accomplices amongst the Arab and Muslim regimes, for a one-state solution, democratic and secular Palestine.
Here.
The Liberal NDP Supply and Confidence Pact in March 2022 to September of 2024 weakened workers. It gave the Trudeau Liberals a license to hike war spending, to further subsidize oil and gas, and to delay promised reforms. The NDP ranks should learn the lessons of the false alliance that led to such bitter results for the NDP this past April 28th. This matters to the entire working class and the left. Why? Because in order to replace class collaboration with class struggle politics on a mass scale, it is essential to argue and to win thousands inside the existing working class organizations. Yes, the role of a revolutionary party is to stir things up. It is to engage members, supporters, and masses of people. In the face of trade wars, rising authoritarianism, genocide, and climate catastrophe, the need has never been greater. At the center of our strategy is mass action. Working class political independence from capital and the state, and the construction of a disciplined revolutionary party. With the United Front tactic in unions, international solidarity movements, the NDP Socialist Caucus, and municipal politics, SA shows that it is possible to make a positive difference immediately while building the revolutionary party for workers' full self-emancipation. If you agree with that, please join Socialist Action today. Have a happy, red, and revolutionary name.
Thank you so much, Julius. Wonderful speech. Thank you so much, Julius. I'd like to now deliver comments from, greetings from our U.S. counterpart, Socialist Action USA, written by Jeff Mackler, Federal Secretary of Socialist Action USA. Dear comrades of Socialist Action Canada, we extend our deepest solidarity to you as you celebrate this year's May Day. The International Working Class Holiday, at a time when the U.S. imperialist beast is poised to extract yet another pound of flesh in a vain attempt to resolve its deepening social, economic, and political crisis. Capitalism has no answer other than endless wars against working people at home and abroad. Environmental destruction, racism, sexism, and multiple forms of discrimination. These are inherent in the nature of the predatory system. Today's trade war, genocidal wars from Palestine to Africa to Latin America, Europe, and beyond are required to keep the inherently diseased system profitable. There is no lesser evil in capitalist politics. Trump's seemingly irrational Canada, the 51st state, is little more than a moron's rant released from the constraints of a civilized dialogue. The beast, with 1,100 military bases in 110 countries, has announced that it exists for a single purpose: to advance the interests of an increasingly beleaguered U.S. ruling class, whose share of the world's trade and wealth has been cut in half over the past decade and is in dramatic decline. War on every front is its central solution. Socialist Action USA, Socialist Action Canada exist to permanently abolish the sick and twisted state of affairs, to build a deeply rooted mass revolutionary socialist movement led by the working class and its allies among all the oppressed. We are proud to be partners with Socialist Action Canada in this all-important endeavor. There is no greater task before us. In solidarity and comradely, yours, Jeff Mackler, Socialist Action National Secretary. All right. I'd also like to promote a little, no shame, promote the raffle. We have some wonderful books here on socialism. A bottle of Havana Club. Maybe it's a big selling item for some.
Repeat that one.
Not everyone drinks, but some people might want the Havana Club. I don't know, but there are also some what I think are more valuable books. I've read some of them and they're very valuable, and they're also up for the raffle as well. So to remind everyone, it's $2 per ticket, or if you'd like to buy 3 at a time, it's $5 for 3. You can see Trevor over here if you'd like to buy tickets. Thank you. Okay, let's continue on. Has Dirka arrived? I'm going to assume that Dirka has not arrived. I'll find out soon, but I'll move on. We have John Clarke, who was an organizer with OCAP, Ontario Coalition Against Poverty, for 28 years. He's still involved in the anti-poverty struggle as an active member of 230 Fight Back, which is campaigning for social housing in Toronto Downtown East. He also facilitates a free Fighting to Win education course for union and community activists. Welcome, John Clarke.
Thank you very much, and May Day greetings to all comrades here.
Happy May Day.
Happy May Day.
Woo! May Day.
I want to also touch on the incredible change that's taken place coming out of the White House with the turn to so-called America First. Because I don't know about anybody else, but those of us that have been around since 2008, and I'll go back a bit before that, will really have the sense that there has been one crisis after another, which is not surprising because capitalism is full of contradictions and does produce crises. That's not a new discovery, but this really is a big one that is happening now. It's very easy to suggest that there's this quirky fellow called Donald Trump who comes up with these strange ideas, and he does, he's very quirky, but the reality is that what has changed is something much more fundamental within US imperialism and by extension global capitalism, and it was referred to in the comments we just heard from the USA. We have a situation where US imperialism has played this role of being a global exploiter with an incredible capacity for global violence. It certainly wasn't doing anybody any favours, but at the same time it was clearly, since at least the end of the Second World War, the cornerstone of a global system, a so-called rules-based order, as slippery as those rules were. it actually saw itself as providing leadership and stability for what passes for stability, at least within the system. And what has now happened is not just that there's some nasty people in the White House, although they are thoroughly nasty, but what has actually happened is that you have a situation where the contradictions within the system and the decline of the US, its hegemonic power declining so dramatically, has created a situation where the most reckless and the most reactionary elements have come to the conclusion that no, we're not going to play those rules anymore. We're not going to worry about global stability. We're just going to use our still formidable economic might and our military power to, as was said, run a global extortion racket. And that is a recipe for incredible instability on a global scale. I don't think we can underestimate the change that has taken place. I certainly don't want to suggest that the years before were benign and wonderful. They were dreadful. But the fundamental instability within the system now has intensified dramatically because of this turn. And when Biden tried to put it right, he couldn't. That's the simple reality of the situation. So it is dramatic. But in terms of Canada, and I certainly don't want to feed into any illusions that Canada is an oppressed colony, but the truth is that Canada is a country that is very integrated with the US economy. In 2023, 77% of US exports went to the United States. That's a major situation. You pull the plug on that with protectionism, it's a devastating situation. For Canadian capitalism, you might even say it's an existential crisis. It really is dramatic. It's going to have Mark Carney, I'm afraid I must quote him, perhaps I should be quoting Marx or Layla instead of Mark Carney, but nonetheless, Mark Carney said that this is the greatest crisis of our lifetimes. It's going to play out very differently for a central banker to it does for working class people, but nonetheless, it's a crisis. It's an enormous crisis. And capitalism is going to have to, Canadian capitalism, the capitalist class and their political representatives are going to have to come up with a way to try to stabilise things. Now, for all his flag waving, the first thing he's going to do is go down to Washington and see if a deal can be cooked up. He's going to try that. I wouldn't bet on it. No. I wouldn't bet on it at all, but he's going to give it a try. If that doesn't happen, they're going to be into this trade war situation, and it is going to be very unequal and it's going to be very devastating. At the same time, they're going to try to diversify trade as much as they can. But the point to be understood is that whatever of those routes we end up going down, it's going to constitute a situation where profits are going to be on the line, and they are going to respond by greatly intensifying the rate of exploitation and by attacking workers and communities on an unprecedented scale. Jagmeet Singh during the election suggested that the attempt to balance the operating budget that Martin was putting forward would translate into $45 billion worth of cuts. And we're talking about an attack that is going to be even more considerable than the Cretin-Martin attacks on the social infrastructure during the 1990s. At the same time, the process of environmental degradation is going to be intensified. At the same time, attacks on workers are going to be intensified. There's going to be a dramatic effort to deregulate, to remove the protections that exist for workers and consumers and the environment. We're going to be looking at a situation where the trade war is going to become a class war. And it's going to become a class war very, very rapidly, and it's going to be very severe. And Mark Carney, for all his talk about compassionate capitalism and all the rest of the stuff he talks, he's a wily character. He's a central banker who oversaw the crisis in 2008, and again the Brexit crisis in Britain later on. He recognises he's going to be utterly ruthless in his attacks, and the writing is on the wall loud and clear. I just read a report coming from the Royal Bank of Canada, and the stuff they were saying was chapter and verse what Carney is saying. They were talking about exactly the same mechanisms. Carney, unlike Poilievre, I think he's actually a more sophisticated and clever player than Poilievre by a long way. And while Poilievre was prattling on about this is too expensive and all the rest of it, Carney recognised the capitalist state has to be highly interventionist in this situation. It has to be ready to do what's necessary to weather this crisis. So we're going to face brutal attacks. That's been said already, but it needs to be emphasised. Brutal attacks. Now, I just also read a statement put out by Unifor. And I don't particularly want to dump on the leadership of Unifor, especially because they're by no means unique in this regard. But they were talking in terms of their readiness to work with the new Prime Minister. They were talking in terms of things need to be done and we need to work together. That's to fundamentally misread the situation. We are facing a very, very serious attack from a wily and a dangerous enemy. It's going to be brutal. And all of this nonsense of patriotism and flag waving that's been put forward is going to evaporate very rapidly. It's going to be seen very, very clearly by working people and communities that Team Canada is a class-divided institution. It's going to be seen very clearly that the patriotic bosses are laying people off and the flag-waving governments are introducing austerity. There's going to be major attacks. And what's going to be needed is a massive working-class counter-offensive. It's going to have to advance fighting demands. It's going to involve mass strikes. It's going to involve mass mobilisation. It's going to have to be very, very powerful. And there is a role for militants and socialists to play in this. The influence that we can have in this situation, this extreme situation, is much greater than it's been in the past. We have the opportunity to intervene and to really make a difference in this situation. We are facing, at this moment, I think we're at a crossroads, it's fair to say, in terms of the class struggle, and we'll say to, as we celebrate May Day. We're facing a situation where we are either going to take advantage of these opportunities and mobilise in new, decisive ways, or we're going to suffer shattering defeats. I'm not reconciled to those defeats, and I don't think anybody in this room is. On May Day, let's commit to take the fight forward. It's not our responsibility to stabilise capitalism. It's our responsibility to challenge the capitalist class, their political representatives, and to lead an uncompromising fight of working class resistance that goes over to a struggle for social transformation. Thank you very much.
Became active in the union as a postal worker. He answered the call for shop steward role within the local union and became a grievance officer and filled a variety of roles within the executive team before elected to serve as the president of Local 2022. Welcome, Learie.
Good evening, brothers and sisters.
Good evening. Happy May Day.
Raise the mic.
Happy. Next one. Raise it. This way. Good? Yeah, go ahead. Next one.
Steve.
Oh, wrong way.
Steve, go ahead. This is here better than anything.
Good evening, comrades.
Run over here.
I bring greetings to you from the postal workers. Jan was invited. Jan Simpson, I understand, was invited to participate, and in conversation with her, she asked if I would attend, and I'm proud to attend your celebration. It's an important celebration in terms of the international working class movement. May Day, as you know, for a long time has been the rallying point between workers of all countries. And especially so workers and oppressed people of all countries to show their unity in the common struggle against capitalist exploitation. So it is indeed an honor to be representing postal workers in addressing your celebration this evening. Happy May Day to all of you.
Happy May Day.
Brother John Clarke just made some remarks there which are tremendous and important remarks, because it brings a reality to what is taking place on a worldwide scale. And that reality is that the oligarchs around the world have now stepped forward in their most powerful country, in the United States, and are trying to establish themselves as the rulers of the world in a manner which pushes aside everything else which exists. which wants to push aside all the competitors among themselves and to champion the cause of the US, or to continue to champion the cause of the US.
Shame.
Whereas we say this is a shameful thing which is going on, the fact is that in front of us, we are faced with the reality that the extent of the exploitation of working people is going to increase, as John was saying, but the rate at which it is going to increase is frightful. Many of you, for instance, have closely followed the struggle of the postal workers over the years, and you have shown in the most concrete ways solidarity with that struggle.
You're here.
And we thank all of you for participating in that struggle. For instance, you know our struggle, because it was going so stubborn for 33 days from November 14th last year, the ruling circles in Canada had to find a way of displacing it at the time. And what they did is their crisis within their ranks came to the forefront. So the day they ordered us back to work in mid-December, the very next day, their crisis blew up with the resignation of Christou Freeland. They simply wanted to change the agenda in a very sharp way, because our strike, by maintaining it, not through rotating strikes, but an all-out strike on the 14th, it showed them that there are sections of the working class which can stand up to everything which they're throwing at us.
Here, 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 here.
And if that pattern is continued and spreads in the working class movement, it will create a lot of turmoil for them. They wanted to stop it, and they temporarily stopped it. I bring forward this example because now that you can call it election bacchanal is over, and the situation is worse now than before, we are back. Postal workers are back right across the country in a situation where they either have to come to a compromise or they have to carry forward their struggle in order to win the demands which they put forward and which they were fighting for tenaciously at the time of the strike. So we didn't go away.
No.
Within that time, they did many things to oppress postal workers and to keep us out of the limelight. And internally, within the post office itself, they took a tremendous amount of measures to impose oppressive activities on the work floor itself, to bring in decisive changes in terms of the service which Canada Post provides. And even though not only within this short period of time from when we were forced back to work, it had been going on gradually, but it took decisive steps during that time to consolidate that oppressive regime, which is attempting to remove the postal service nationally as a service and simply turned it into another enterprise which may be owned by some millionaire or some billionaire for their own profits.
Shame.
If you do remember, the same Mr. Carney was the head of the British Central Bank when the British Post Office was so-called privatized in various forms. And in most recent months, it was sold, I think, to a Czech billionaire for $5.7 billion.
Shame.
Now, the British government maintained what they call a golden share in that kind of situation, claimingly to protect national security. But the fact is, this is the handing over of an important public service to the multi-billionaires. And it is the same kind of mentality which is driving the process here in Canada. This is why so many people were afraid of the Conservatives coming to power, because they would have speeded up this issue. So we have a chance in which, as you know, the postal workers have been saying all over that there is need for a public post office and for it to be continued and for it to grow. And the reason why I am emphasizing this aspect of the work which we have done, or which we are doing, and which we will continue to do, is because the whole question of May Day, as we are celebrating it, and the whole question of international solidarity for the Canadian Union of Postal Workers is rooted in a very simple reality, which is we must struggle on our own home front to win the important battles in the post office, in the various stages of the post office, whether it is an actual small office or nationally, whether it is the struggles which we carried on as postal workers on the famous issue of getting maternity leave as an important paid leave across the country, or other victories which we have achieved. It is rooted in winning those struggles to show tangible improvements for working people within Canada, and that in itself being the biggest contribution which we can make to all the other struggles of working people which are taking place on a worldwide scale. We are showing them by way of example that our struggle is part of their struggle, and their struggle is part of our struggle. And we have exhibited this over the years, whether it is in terms of solidarity with the struggles in South Africa at the time against apartheid, or all over Southern Africa in terms of against the British colonial powers, or in more recent years, we have taken up with a passion the struggle on the question of the state of Palestine and the life of the Palestinian people. And we have carried that struggle in a most important way for us, by actually showing them that not only are we fighting on our home front, but wherever we can, we will come join with you, assist you in any way we can to bring success to your struggle. So not only do we participate in the day-to-day struggles which are taking place in support of Palestine here in Canada and in other countries, but we also, when the opportunity comes, we go to Palestine and assist the Palestinian workers in whatever way we can, in bolstering their ranks, in showing them the victories which we have won, in showing them the ways in which they can use our own rich experience which we can exchange with them, and where we can learn from each other. To us, this is a great part of our solidarity and unity. So when we say workers of all countries unite, we mean it in a real way. We actually work for it from that standpoint.
That's right.
In addition, we carry that same struggle among workers in other countries. For instance, before the present government came together in Colombia, for instance, we did send our workers there, our members there on a regular basis. We give very strong support to Cuba on a regular basis. We go to countries where the working class movement is striving and trying to build itself, and we provide them wherever we can with resources to help them strengthen themselves. This to us is a concrete manifestation of the question of international solidarity, as I said, rooted in our work here first and foremost, and sharing that work with others, encouraging them, because every victory which they attain, we consider it as part of our victory. And in that sense, despite the difficulties which are going on in Palestine and the difficult struggle which the Palestinian people are facing, we consider their struggle to be an integral part of ours. And at any stage that we can give them assistance and support in the struggle against Zionist fascism and that murder machine, we will do it. And we do this quite consciously, and I tell you why. So even in the postal stations and in the post office as a whole, we give our views. They are not very popular views. And the entire postal administration takes action against this. You put up a leaflet explaining the kind of brutality, the bestial kind of brutality which is taking place in Palestine, and they will come and rip it down. Management itself. So this struggle, when we talk about on Palestine, it's not just some pie in the sky thing. We have to continue pushing forward, because no serious working class body can speak about liberation, about fighting for victories in your own country, without keeping that situation in Palestine on your mind and finding ways to assist them in overcoming that situation which they're faced with. So I stand here this evening with you in saying full solidarity with all of you who are gathered here today, because this solidarity is needed more than at any time for us to move forward with our struggles. I do not want to get into the issue of Mr. Trump. It is an issue, but it's an issue which the American working people have to deal with on a very serious scale, where we have to assist them as much as possible, and where we have to realize that both in the United States and its actions as an imperialist power, and in Canada, they are going to make common cause against the working class and people. We shouldn't have any illusions of marching behind a Canadian flag with Kanye in front of it.
No, sir.
That we are going to get something.
No, sir.
We are going to be kicked away at the end of it, and they will go forward. They're going to find a common point of uniting, and we have to understand that as working people, we have to get ourselves organized in order for this to be a success. So on this May Day, let us resolve to carry forward this struggle for the unity and solidarity of working people in Canada and around the world.
Here,
Workers of all countries unite.
Here, here.
Here, here. Okay. Dirka Prout is a self-described poly-engineer who has represented Canada's NDP 3 times in the electoral district of London North Centre, now London Centre. She's a frequent contributor to the Socialist Caucus magazine, Turn Left. Dirka is long associated with the Spelling Bee of Canada and speaks often in London, Ontario. Here's Dirka Prout.
Dirka.
Yeah, I might have to go this way.
Whatever you need. Am I alright?
Thanks.
You're good.
It's a mic,
okay?
Yeah, I hurt my leg, so.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. How's it going?
How's the traffic?
Traffic was a lot. It's
a nightmare.
So there are 3 R's, right? Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Yeah.
But today I need some rest, so I had to rethink what I was going to do. Tom knows. And so I couldn't refuse to speak today, because then I'll have to repair a relationship.
No, we appreciate it no matter what.
No worries.
No matter what. No matter what.
Yeah, so as my comrade said, I was just a candidate in the last election, and it was a lot to take on. And so I am recycling a talk about the NDP, but I'm just going to talk about, what it should become. This is a recycled talk from our education conference back in November. So let's just jump into it. I know people have a lot of ideas, but I have to say that it really saddens me that a lot of our vote went to the boss man party, to a banker with offshore funds. So that is really sad.
Shame.
And it means that if, as a minimum, we need to educate our voters about why they should stand fast and not accept that as an option. So a lot of people are going to be talking about, is the NDP done? Can we merge with the Greens or the Liberals?
No.
Or should we start a new socialist party? I'm going to say a little something about that. It is doubtful that a new party could happen unless a vibrant alternative socialist structures like Socialist Action and others exist outside the NDP. Further, development of a new genuine socialist party is really a long-term project. We can't wait that long, right? Which cannot succeed without complementary provincial arms. So the Green Party happens to be one of the only parties created after the NDP, and it has had, if we have to be honest, some measure of sustained electoral success. But that success took a long time to execute. I would say they're kind of going backwards now. And it also has some reliance on wins at the provincial level. We have to be realistic that fewer and fewer Canadians are devoting time to volunteer in political parties across the political spectrum, and we have scarce human capacity right now. But given the urgency to tackle widening inequality, which I say will happen under Carney, and the erosion of the quality of life for a growing group of vulnerable Canadians, we cannot wait for a new socialist party. We need action right now, and we need to stick with the NDP. Thank you. Yeah, the NDP activists have long complained, including myself, about the lack of true democracy within the party.
That's for sure.
Yeah, the party controls the finances. Now they don't have much, and sets the agenda throughout without meaningful input from the membership. So dedicated NDP volunteers who serve the EDAs are particularly aggrieved when accountability flows only one way. Without accountability, there's no trust. And if you have no trust, no votes, no volunteers, no donations, and no power. And that's what we need, power, to make the transformational changes we need to improve this country and protect people from the worst of capitalism. Without power, we cannot get that transformational change, and this is true now when the NDP is not in power, and also when we gain power. We cannot betray our principles along the way and the trust of our base by implementing neoliberal austerity measures like Darrell Dexter of Nova Scotia, or water down our environmental policies like Rachel Notley of Alberta, who, by the way, is being floated as a potential person to lead the federal. So to broaden our tent, we have to make genuine connections to effectively address their concerns, to protect the party against neoliberal and neocon attacks. We must not only be a political party, we have to seek labor, union, and political and social movements outside of our party to present a united front against the establishment. Now, during the 2017 leadership race, Ed Broadbent cautioned that bold ideas and electoral victories are needed. Bryant and Raphael's Toronto Star opinion piece noted that since Canada's economic system is the root of many problems, the NDP should return to its roots and articulate a strong critique of our economic system. I really agree with that. So Press Progress reported that the big majority constituted 73% of Canadians based on a recent Ecos poll. And 70% of us want more societal focus, stressing health and well-being. So to a moderate or high extent, most Canadians, or a good majority, implicitly believe we undervalue our elderly and disabled members. And they believe that social class inequity is problematic, and problems arise from ascribing too much importance on carbon energy relative to preserving the environment and addressing climate change. So you notice that the only talk about climate change in this last election was about the carbon tax, and nothing about how we transform our economy to protect us. Yeah. So Lucas called for the NDP to relentlessly attack the Liberals as servants of the corporate elite, blocking taxes on the rich, boosting public spending, and a new Green Deal. And in 2021, there was an Abacus data poll that found that these policies were supported by 89 to 92% of Canadians across the political spectrum. So clearly there is a deep desire for people to move in a more progressive and people and planet-centered direction, and I think this is where the NDP could make some inroads. Our task of throwing off the weighty cloak of orange liberalism is made so much easier by the fact that our 2019 and 2021 electoral platforms were the most progressive and social democratic in decades. So there's a lot in there that we didn't talk about during the election. But it's not enough to have bold ideas. They must be actively promoted. It's not enough to criticize liberal and capitalist failures. As Barry Austin reminds us in meetings, when we write for turn left, provide solutions. The Harper government prioritized ideology over evidence, and the current crop of federal conservatives are exactly the same. Pierre Poilievre, he has snappy, easy to remember slogans, and he's threatening us again since he got a new seat. Yes, he has snappy, ready to remember slogans, and he effectively weaponized public anger with a sizable portion of the working class. That should be our territory, right?
Should be.
Yeah. Now is the time for us to talk about our platform, that hard work that the entire caucus did, and less messaging about our now gone leader. So we shouldn't do that in the future. We should focus on the team. And certainly more on our bold policies. That polling shows are popular across the entire political spectrum. We have to play up the role that government interventions, including public options, can do to transform society and build community wealth. I'm stressing community wealth because people talk about GDP, but that doesn't trickle down, or it doesn't make its way to the ordinary people. It's community wealth that does that. Yeah, that too. The sentiments and needs of Canadians are too urgent to destroy the NDP through a merger or wait for a real socialist alternative, and even more so today than when I wrote this in November 2024. Even as a social democratic party, a clearly left NDP can build a better Canada by upholding socialist principles. So these principles were outlined in somebody's named Uli Deemer's 1989 critique, which was in Canadian Dimension magazine. Said, radical democracy. Power should be dispersed widely with the inclusion of worker control in the workplace and community control in our municipalities. So we have to look beyond the state and corporations. They should not have all the power. We need sustainable ecological. Thank you. Sane activity. It should safeguard the health of all workers, the community, and the planet. We have to have a class perspective, collaborate with those outside the capitalist class with whom we have shared interests. Solidarity and internationalism. The brother before me spoke about that. Shout out to another Trini. An injury to one is certainly an injury to all. And the idea that change is possible. Preach and practice how various movements have worked to make the seemingly impossible possible. Thank you for listening.
We have Layla Staats. Speaking performing for us, I believe. She's a Mohawk Turtle Clan from the Six Nation of Grand River. Her work stems from her reclamation journey to reclaim her Mohawk teachings that were taken from her before she was even born. As a generational survivor of residential schools, Layla is a filmmaker and storyteller who premiered her second documentary, Boil Alert, at the Toronto National Film Festival in 2023. She has been singing for decades with her brother Logan Staats, and she is stepping into her own voice and sharing her own song with the world. Welcome, Layla.
Sego, that's how we say hello in Mohawk. Sego. Good job. Sego, Skanagoga, Layla Staats Youngats, Noara Niwa Gita Rodan, Ganyaki Haga, Niwa Gotma Jordan, Oswego Nidoagame. So I said hello, my name is Layla Staats. I'm Mohawk Turtle Clan from the Six Nations of the Grand River. And I introduced myself to you in Mohawk, but that language, it wasn't taught to me when I was growing up. It was something that I had to actively seek out as a generational survivor of residential schools. I've been on this reclamation journey to reconnect, to reclaim these teachings that were taken from me before I was born. And it led me to this journey of water and my connection with the water, my responsibility to the water. And I recently just released my documentary Boil Alert, where I traveled to 7 different First Nations communities that had boil water advisories. And all I can say is once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once people know what is going on in Indigenous communities, there is no excuse. So if you haven't seen it, I want you to pick up your phone right now, go to Instagram, type Layla Staats, and send me a message. I have a
How many times does the water have to be boiled to be useful?
It has to be. The fact that it has to be boiled at all is crazy. You know, and then like across the highway, the communities have access. So yeah, it is shocking, and I want you guys to see it. So send me a message. I'll send it to you for free.
Thank you.
So this song, let me just test the sound. Does anybody know how to work that thing? Just in case the levels are right. Sure. Alright. It's a little quiet. So this song is about our river, Six Nations, the Grand River, and those 6 miles that were promised in the Haldeman Treaty, according to their laws. And it's funny, like we abide by their laws, and they don't even respect their laws. Just crazy. Yeah, I think that's okay. You spread like cancer through the land. Can't wash red blood off a white man's hand. No, you can't, no, you can't, no, you can't. Put your back, give it all back just to take it away. Give it all back just to take it away. 6 miles each side of the river. 6 miles each side of the river, sending shivers down your spine. I'm just asking for what's mine. 6 miles each side of the river. 6 miles each side of the river. 6 miles each side of the river. Of the river. Of the river. Here comes the rain, and it's made from my grandmother's tears. They who watch the water, they who watch the daughters disappear. Here comes the rain, and it's made from my grandmother's tears. They who watch the water, they who watch the daughters disappear. Give it all back, give it all back. You can't take it away. Give it all back, give it all back. You won't take it away. 6 miles each side of the river. 6 miles each side of the river, sending shivers down your spine. I'm just asking for what's mine. 6 miles each side of the river. 6 miles each side of the river. 6 miles, 6 miles, 6 miles, 6 miles each side. Give it all back, give it all back, oh, give it all back. Give it all back, oh, give it all back. Give it all back, oh, give it all back. Here comes the rain, and it's made from my grandmother's tears. Give it back, give it back, give it back. 6 miles each side of the river. 6 miles each side of the river. 6 miles each side of the river. Of the river. Of the river. 6 miles. 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 6 miles each side. I got all my kiddos here, and they've been really, really patient. So I'm going to bring them up here so they can be my background singers. Come on up, guys. Is it?
Check it. It should be on. Check that mic. Just check the mic and make sure it's.
Yeah, it's on. Is that high enough for you?
Another all-girls band.
Oh no, we got a boy here. Long hair, dark hair. So sorry. So this song, I actually sang to a wall of cops for the first time. Standing on the bridge in Wet'suwet'en with the Wet'suwet'en Nation defending against the pipeline. And there was hundreds of RCMP helicopters, machine guns, attack dogs barking, and as they were approaching, something in me was just like, sing. Just sing. And this song is called White Pine. It comes from our nation, the story of the White Pine and the peacemaker that brought all of our nations together in a time of war. And we all buried our weapons under the White Pine. So I sang it to the cops. I thought, it might like melt them and they would just become our friends and our allies, but they arrested me anyways.
Maybe they questioned it.
I know, right? So yeah, you guys know White Pine, right? You can sing it?
Yeah.
You have to get closer to that microphone though.
You guys will be great.
Yeah, just maybe put on lots. It just keeps slipping.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah, it's fine.
They're all here, you know.
Yeah. So I sometimes think about those cops and like wonder if they ever remember that girl on the bridge that sang to them. Just a cappella on that broken bridge. You can't forget that, right? Brothers and sisters, rise up again. Remember the peacemaker's journey within. Brothers and sisters, rise up again. Remember the peacemaker's journey within. At the white pine, meet at the white pine. At the white pine, meet at the white pine. Come pray. calling for enemy. Come pray with me. Come pray with me. The white pine, reading the white pine. Good job. Okay, we got a couple more here. So this song I wrote while I was filming the documentary because it was super heavy. You know, every reserve I went to, the stories I heard, you know, I had to carry them. And so I came back to my Papa's land and I sat around the fire and I said, Papa, Nan, send me a message. This microphone's just a little bit hot there. And this song was written.
Now it's on fire.
And then I sang it for the first time in Kamloops at the residential school there, where the first bodies were found. And as I sang it, I felt like it came to life. You know, I could see the children, I could see my ancestors, I could see everyone telling me, rise up, Layla, rise up. And so, we must rise. Hopefully, check one. Yes, sorry. This is not my story. The scars lie in the lane. They only see the glory. No one sees the pain. But I will rise from your ashes. I will dig out of your grave. I will use the voice I'm given. I'm proud. I'll be brave. Rise you might know the words. And I don't have music for it, so it's going to be a cappella. But this is a very famous song in the women's suffrage movement, and I feel like women, the rising of the women is the rising of the race. So sing it if you know it. Woo! As we go marching, marching in the beauty of the day, a million darkened kitchens, 1,000 mills grey, are touched with all the radiance that a sudden sun discloses. For the people hear us singing, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching, we battle too for men, for they are women's children, and we mother them again. The lives will not be sweated from birth until life closes. Hearts starved as well as bodies, bread and roses, bread and roses. As we go marching, marching, unnumbered women dead go crying through our singing their ancient call for bread. The mother's art and beauty, their grudging spirits knew. For it is bread we fight for, but we fight for roses too. Last verse. As we go marching, marching, we bring the greater day. For the rising of the women is the rising of the race. No more the drudge and idler, tender toil while one reposes. For the sharing of life's glories, bread and roses, bread and roses. Yawa, thank you so much for having me. Okay, my kids, they really want to sing this Mohawk water song for you. I don't have my rattle, but we'll sing, okay? Ready? Yungara lukwa onega, yungara lukwa onega, galega nono, galega nono, ganya ya heya. Yungara lukwa onega, yungara lukwa onega, galega nono, galega nono, ganya ya heya. Yona yo eh oh eh, yona yo eh oh eh, gane no no, gane no no, gaya ya heya. Yona no kwa oega, yona no kwa oega, gane no no, gane no no. So thank you so much for having me. You know, people ask me all the time, do I think there's a solution for the issues in Indigenous territories? And for me, it's not going to come from some guy at the top. It's going to come from the ground up. And the workers, we represent the foundation of this country, so I believe in you. I believe.
Thank you. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Let's hear it again for Layla Staats. It reminds us of the necessity for our commitment to liberation of Indigenous peoples across Turtle Island. I would now like to invite, I guess, George Elliot Clarke to the stage. The 4th Poet Laureate of Toronto, 2012-15, and the 7th Parliamentary Canadian Poet Laureate, 2017. George Elliot Clarke was born in Windsor, Nova Scotia in 1960, an English professor at the University of Toronto. Clarke has taught at Duke, McGill, UBC, and Harvard. He won the Pierre Elliott Trudeau Fellows Prize Governor General's Award for Poetry, and National Magazine and Gold Award for Poetry. Premio Poses in Romania, as well as the Dartmouth Book Award for Fiction, and the Eric Hoffer Book Award for Poetry. It is with great respect that I welcome George to the stage.
All right! Where to start? Yes. Yeah. Where to start? What a night! A happy May Day, everybody. And as I was just mentioning, Giovanna is very regretful, very sorrowful about not being able to be with us this evening. But her heart is here. Her fervor is here. Her inspiration is here. Her poetry is here. Her militant humanitarianism is here. And she would like me to mention that she desires that we apply our deathless fervor to the liberation of all. And so I'm happy to bring those greetings to you from her, and I know that she will want to be here next time that we are gathered, and hopefully under much better circumstances than we face right now. We've had a number of great speakers and great songs this evening. And I don't know if I actually need a microphone, but hey, it does.
You're pretty good.
I do sound better with the mic, but I need to say a couple things in response to all of the great speeches and again, song that we have heard, and all of it very inspiring. I, like many of us in this room, happened to be alive and happened to be a citizen of Canada in 1988. When we had the great election fought on the issue whether or not we should enter into the FTA. And many of us back then in 1988 said that to go into the free trade agreement with the United States was a huge mistake. That what we needed to do was to build our own industrial capacity. That what we needed to do then was to diversify our trade. What we needed to do then was develop our own auto industry independent of the Auto Pact, and thereby be able to create an industrial infrastructure for our own people, our own children, moving forward into the future. And I happened to work for an NDP member of Parliament at that point by the name of Howard McCurdy, who passed away unfortunately in 2018, Canada's second black member of Parliament. And I know that Howard McCurdy, being a scientist, developing that made in Canada hydrogen-powered vehicle. Of course, that idea never came to pass, and now we find ourselves in this ridiculous situation that the capitalists of the late 20th century imposed upon us in the name of having what they thought of as being economic peace with the United States of America. And look at where that has brought us. Look at what that has gained us. The Avro Arrow comes to mind. I thank you so much for referencing that. Jet aircraft as well. Another point, just to fast forward from 1988 to 2008, and the great crash that capitalist economies experienced. And why? Because of colossal fraud on Wall Street, which infected the entire global capitalist regime. As a matter of fact, some of us remember that The Economist magazine, that Bible of capitalism, actually ran a cover story with a picture of the yuan, the renminbi, the Chinese currency, featuring the face of Mao Zedong on the cover of The Economist back in September 2008. And, and the headline was, does China have the right path in terms of capitalist development? A very interesting moment. But of course, our brother, Barack Obama, was of course on his way into the White House at that point. And I know nobody wants to criticize Barack, and I don't want to criticize, I like him too. Everybody likes Barack, he's a great speaker. On the other hand, the bailouts, when the bailouts happened, as soon as he hit the White House, It was all to support the fraudsters of Wall Street. It was all to give those traitors of the financial system golden handshakes, golden parachutes, golden photo ops, and that is actually the real reason that explains the rise of Donald Trump. Because he paved the way for the rise of Donald Trump, because everybody could see that when Obama was elected, with the promise that he was going to fix things, with the promise that he was going to be helpful to working class people, and he betrayed that with a smile and great speeches and so on, then that gave an opening for Donald Trump to come in with his snake oil. And that's what we've been suffering from ever since. I'm sorry for mentioning all those things. I'm only a poet.
Telling the truth.
But I pay attention to the news every now and then when it's not fake. As some of them say, less and less. As some of them say. So I want to read this poem. 1867. Marx readies Das Kapital for the press. 1867. Capitalists don't pray, they pray. P-R-E-Y. Thus they took that mad, broken peasant Christ, shattered his bones into grisly, priceless relics, and made pricey wine of his plummeting blood. The liberals jabber gibberish about free trade and free elections, freedom of this and freedom of that, and love to chisel epitaphs affirming liberty, justice into all their pedestals and fundaments, floating courts, legislatures, and treasuries, and then guilt the built-in letters. Yet the precise voters they say they dote upon turn up daily, hungry, haunting the state, and turn up nightly, drunken, preached at by priests and punched out by police. The communist views hollow marble edifices and decorated palaces as urinals. Musical is the liberals' rhetoric, only because it muffles Africans crunching chains, grinding and clanking onto the slave marks, flanking parliaments and cathedrals, the temples of cutthroat bankers, those who applaud tortures and damnation, the emergency powers afforded by hoarding gold bars, cheating workers of the plain right to eat. Those money bags are as bankrupt as a desert's watery mirage. They screech, rights, our rights, our rights. But these rights are merely paper, or are writ on toilet paper, like the freedom's sod exalts. The liberals show a snake handler's drama. They juggle, soothe, and caress, but end still in a tangle of fangs, each one elongating a diabolical Ouroboros. Whatever their scuttlebutt, I've ready rebuttal. A pit bull tutorial, biting down hard on their currency, barking that its circulation germs a terminus in animus, monarchs and merchants, politicos and popes. Damn me as a complaining genius, pitching tantrums grandiose as a baby's, but I don't scuffle over trifles. Economics isn't a specter, but muskets and cannons pointed at peasants and proles. Factorists chew up nature, spit out workers' bones. No one may enjoy a strict paradise, a Canaan tabling manna and wine, who won't first eliminate the conspiracies agony of slavery, agony of guillotine governments, all those death-dealing constitutions. The world is wound down into muck, or the terrible wet redness of plutocracy, pulping ledgers and law books. The world is wound down into muck, or the terrible wet redness of plutocracy, pulping ledgers and law books. Profit is a contentious ambition, and in its Moloch gambit, every poorhouse floats a whorehouse, and every bank funds a jail. The people enlightened will put paid to the fraudulent bills of top-hatted pirates and ministers of gore.
Wow.
Thank you so very much, and you should be careful not to encourage me too much. But I am going to, I'm going to read a poem about the great leader of the Bolshevik Revolution, and not just Lenin, of course, I'm referring to here, but Leon Trotsky. And a piece of a little bit of Canadian history for you. Leon Trotsky was actually the last prisoner of the Halifax Citadel in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Because when he was leaving New York on his way back, he hoped to Russia to help Lenin launch what they considered to be the real revolution and not the liberal revolution of February 1917. The British knew of his presence on board a ship that was passing by Halifax. They seized him off the ship, put him in prison in Halifax, and eventually removed him to a prison camp in Amherst, Nova Scotia, on the border with New Brunswick, where he was held with 500 other prisoners. But Leon Trotsky Bolshevized all the 500 prisoners who were interred there with him. And so the British then said, oh, no, we've got to remove this guy. He's too dangerous to keep around. And every single prisoner signed a petition demanding that Trotsky be allowed to stay where he was. So I've always loved that little wrinkle in Canadian history and Haligonian history, and I'm happy to be able to share it with you. So this poem,
Halifax rules.
Halifax rules, Haligonian rules. So this poem is called Trotsky on the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. And excuse me if I've mispronounced it, but I do think that was one of the most signal enterprises of the 20th century, that the newly minted Bolshevik minister that Trotsky was undertook to settle the Eastern Front war with Prussia, with Germany, and created this treaty ending the war. And even though the Germans resented it and tried to fight against it, one of my great images of Trotsky is that he simply stood up from the table, from the peace treaty negotiation tables, and said, "Gentlemen, the war is over," and walked out. Which is exactly how I think those kinds of agreements or treaties should be negotiated. Trotsky on the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk. The Eastern Front operating theater was Grand Guignol Opera, a groaning movement of interpenetrating fork tines under the murky brilliance of sun-knifed smoke. Reports were all rumbles and moans. Each optimal affliction was as unfortunately obstinate and extravagant as cowboy versus Indian gore. I scrutinized the mess with an insectival lens, the multipolar eyes of a fly for maximum accuracy. Thus I came to countenance the Treaty of Brest-Litovsk, despite the suddenly abrasive, always barkative German prattle and bluster. How else to redo peace? Diplomacy is always dowdy machinery. A king farts. A priest snorts. War or peace unfurls. But unrepentantly turbulent is the battlefield, thanks to armies lumbering and bumbling about, all the assembled dummies crankily tanking each other via idiotic massacres, a million Humpty Dumpty pratfalls that must deaden all jesting. I am the poet of the left wing, shaming politicos whose speech is as tasteless as air. To live on the level, however, is to level plain talk, a kind of black velvet eloquence, smooth and sharp as that cocktail of Guinness ale and champagne. I seek to give our genius, Lenin, nothing less than Genesis perfected, a sunrise piled up with clouds and seminal rain, so that earth is irresistibly saturated, sodden, and soon blazes golden with wheat and corn. I'll not permit the Germans to check our rectitude with ceaseless, acrimonious conundrums. We Soviets will hulk disgust, the privy of lice, the so-called Eastern Front. Hectic and miraculous come the sallies of my pen, the volleys of my voice. I am the poet of the left wing.
Yes.
Here, here.
One more poem in the voice of Trotsky, and I'll just read one other after that, if you don't mind, if that's okay. So
Love it.
And I should read about Trotsky in Halifax, just because it's just such an unforgettable fact of history, and so on. So, or maybe I should read 10 Days That Shook the World.
10 Days That Shook the World.
10 Days That Shook the World. My particular version of it.
John Reed.
John Reed, that's right. But I'm pretending that it's by Leon Trotsky. So here it is. 10 Days That Shook the World by Leon Trotsky. Scurrying toward cannon and hurrying toward burial, maybe not even coffins, sailors and workers got miserably blashed about, gutted by Kerensky's Vendu. Shots came at him like a driving hail, livid. The precipitous flickering of artillery and gun barrels slowly made ugly the avant-garde as unmitigated lesions and sustained pus, showing where shots had eased off by hammering into and thudding into comrades. All uncouth manners and ragged garb, even disheveled in diction, these impure nomads unhesitant before a thrashing tirade that buffeted and squished them, as if mere puff pastry, or ground them into hoof-puckered turf, or dashed them brained, crowned against cobblestones, to a cadence of reverberating thunder, throbbing, draining pulse, sobbing lungs, the sparking muzzles and smoking barrels laid out madcap, puzzling labyrinths of human cadavers and horse carcasses. The sprawled Bolsheviks resembled a frieze of profiled poets, Dante's hooked snout, Keats' phthisic white tint, Pushkin's crescent of beard, but not a comrade shriveled or shrank back or shirked from strife. None would yield in fear what we were seizing via disciplined Leninist. Bullets splashing down, iron balls slashing about, let out blood jet oily jellying so that the foes left dismembered and twitching, a relay and reprise of spasm upon spasm, or is left amenable to maggots. Our fellows, our phalanx, our jolly heroes, our beauty, seeking the eternity of epic emphasis, to surge in breathless swoop, mimicking the Iliad's deathless gladiators until they are themselves indelibly legendary. So what if we turn greasy, sloppy scraps or fragments of selves, smithereens, unknown soldiers, all hideous guts and ravished bones? In this chronicle, our fallen become at decease simultaneous nobility, guilt and guiltless, their final beatification unto such immoderate glamour, our comity, our communes, births new imperishable birds. Wow. And I finished with this. Some of you have heard this song before, and it's actually a chant. And I don't mind reading it again, reciting it again, even if you have heard it before, because unfortunately it remains extremely timely. If not timeless, it is timely. And it is for the murdered and missing a spiritual. And before I read it, I need to say that for those who would like to challenge my right to recite this poem, I am part Cherokee. I am the great-grandson of Etta Croxton, or Emma Croxton. Her name gets spelled two different ways. We have her Cherokee Bandroll number. She came to Nova Scotia, or was a descendant of those who came to Nova Scotia in 1812, 1813, with the black refugees, so-called. These were black people liberated by the British from the Chesapeake Bay area, Maryland and Virginia in the United States during the War of 1812, and were transported to Nova Scotia in about 2,200 people. And many of them arrived with Cherokee, who were in fact allied with Great Britain during the War of 1812. So those are my roots. And so I read this poem from that basis, and also in memory of my mother, from whose descent I, of course, result in part. And I'll also add very quickly that I may also have Mi'kmaq heritage, but I do not lay claim to it because I cannot prove it. But the Cherokee I can, and so therefore I am empowered to share this poem with you. For the murdered and the missing, a spiritual. Someone's guilty of 1,000,000 crimes. Blood on his hands, death on his mind, to send my sister away, away, to put my mama in an unmarked grave. Why she got to be murdered? Why she got to go missing? This land is hers, so I heard. All the saints are insisting. Someone's gotta sink in hell and rot. Dumped bones in bush or parking lot. Disappeared my auntie. Saw her die. Exiled my daughter, served her misery. Why she got to be missing? Why she got to be murdered? Why I hear justice hissing like a snake in a graveyard. Someone's papa mapped a trail of tears. Someone's son paved a highway of tears. Why my sister gotta tumble down? Why my mama gotta stumble down? Why she got to go missing? Why she got to be martyred? Indigenous insisting justice for our massacred. Justice for our massacred. Justice for our massacred. Someone's flag looks like blood on snow. Someone's history's a damn crime show to hurt my daughter, so she weep to wound my auntie while she sleep. Why she got to be murdered? Why she got to go missing? Martyred in mud, slush, nerd, from the Pa to Nipissing. Someone's guilty of a million crimes from 5 centuries back down to next time. Ain't sorry to little sister rape or put my mama in her too soon grave. Why she got to be murdered? Why she got to go missing? Ain't all government alert to crimes of commission? Why don't Parliament just wail? How can this Parliament fail? Gotta have justice insisting. No more murder, no more missing, no more homicide, suicide, genocide. Those screaming words that none can hide. No more trails and highways of tears. No more families cramming each a hearse. Time to put the guilty where they belong. On trial in jail by the end of this song. Why she got to go missing? Why she got to be murdered? Indigenous insisting justice for our massacred. Justice for our massacred. Justice, justice, massacred. Justice, 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 justice for our massacred. Why she got to go missing? Why she got to be murdered?
Yeah, yeah.
Copies available. Happy to sign. Only $20.
Only $20.
But anyways, I'd like to welcome Honey Novick. Novick, sorry. Honey Novick, sorry. Is a singer-songwriter, voice teacher, poet,
Just say I'm accomplished.
Very accomplished. A full member of the League of Canadian Poets, Writers, Unions of Canadian and Poetry and Voice. Her MPP, Jill Andrew, nominated her for the Poet Laureate of Province of Ontario. She had 8 recordings and 10 chapbooks. The Stop Community Centre awarded her 2024 Outstanding Neighbor. She entered her 5th Gerstein Legacy Fund Award in teaching voice yoga. She signs with Bill Bissett, George Elliot Clarke, Kip Harness, and is an artist in residence for the Friendly Spike Theatre Band and directs Liter Art and Woman Voice. Thank you. Here's Honey Novick. Thank you so much. Honey Novick!
I have to say, I am a bit antsy. I've been here since 6:30, and you know, as an honor as it is to be here, I do have another event I had to go to that I had to miss, and so if I seem a little bit pissed off, I am. Anyway, I have to thank George. Because of George, I'm here. I also have to thank George for mentioning NAFTA, because I am the vocalist that was chosen by the Musicians Union to sing the anthem with David Orchard for NAFTA. Yeah, so it was very interesting for a singer to be in these political homes. I don't mean homes, but places where the politicians are trying to make the laws and you don't agree with them. And diplomacy really is, it's not something that each one of us has naturally, I don't think. Anyway, okay. So aside from the Nationale, the Internationale, I think the other song of our movement, the workers' movement, is this one. I drink dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you and me. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, says he. I never died, says he. In Salt Lake Joe, says I to him, standing by my bed, they framed you on a murder charge. Says Joe, but I ain't dead. Says Joe, but I ain't dead. The copper bosses killed you, Joe. They shot you, Joe, says I. Takes more than guns to kill a man. Says Joe, I didn't die. Says Joe, I didn't die. And standing there as big as life and smiling with his eyes, says Joe, what they could never kill went on to organize. Went on to organize. Joe Hill is by their side. Joe Hill is by their side. From Haida Gwaii to the Maritimes, in every mine and mill, where people stand up for their rights, that's where you'll find Joe Hill. That's where you'll find Joe Hill. I dreamed I saw Joe Hill last night, alive as you and me. Says I, but Joe, you're 10 years dead. I never died, says he. I never died, says he. Just give a shout out to the younger people who are with us this evening. For me, you represent the hope for all of us, the awareness, just the energy that, that those of us have been around and have fought many battles. We look at the younger people and we go, that was why we do it. Anyway.
Well said.
Yes. Okay. So, I didn't know what to present to you. I knew that there would be a lot of stuff that would be familiar, so I thought I would just play with my own thoughts and share them with you. Here we go. Chloe Cooley is her name. Chloe Cooley significantly eluded by fame. But Chloe Cooley made history, herstory. Her story changed the laws of Canadian slavery. Because of her, Canadian slavery came to an end, at least so we're taught. Like chattel and property, without a quiver, she was sold across the Niagara River. Fortunately witnessed and reported by Peter Martin, a black loyalist, this human cargo sale led Upper Canada's Lieutenant Governor John Graves Simcoe to pass the act, no turning back, passed the act to limit slavery in Upper Canada in 1793. This act was passed within a year against some fears setting up legislature on this land, and it was the first and only act in the British colonies that limited slavery. Be patient, fortify, bravery, until full abolition was passed in 1834. Was this a victory galore? Back to Chloe Cooley, fearless, peerless. It's time with honor and fame we learn just what encompasses this name. Chloe Cooley. It's our duty to say this name. Chloe Cooley. You know who she is? She's on the stand. She actually was really fearless. She was a slave. I don't know the details of what happened in Montreal, but she burnt down one of her places where they enslaved her.
Were you yourself Angelique?
What?
Maria Yosef Angelique, not Chloe Cooley. It was Maria Yosef Angelique who burned down Montreal.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's
Okay.
okay, because Chloe Cooley was also on a stand last year, 2024, but this year we've got Maria Yosef Angelique with flames all around her.
Okay.
Right on.
Okay.
Very good.
All right.
Of course it's true.
Oh, and then with apologies to Woody Guthrie, I took one of his songs and I was hoping it would make me feel better because, you know, I watch the news a lot. I like to be informed by some television and Facebook and all that kind of stuff and then make up my own mind. But it's depressing. So in order to make myself feel better, I took a Woody Guthrie song and changed it. Come all of you good folk, all over the land, I'll sing you a story of lawless presidents' men. They'll disappear citizens and disregard rights and show how the U.S. governed doing illegal, fighting illegal fights. I met a brave warrior whose name I don't know. I said, let's make a stand against people acting low. He said he'd go with me to stand for liberty and drink fresh water before it's poisoned by greed. We walked to the town square in the spring of the year, expecting to get there as allies for the LGBT and queer. Some corrupt police broke in the dead of the night. We had to rise from our warm beds of battle to fight. We rose from our warm beds with guts in each hand, and said, come all of you good people, let's fight for our land. Come all of you good people, and don't ever run. Fighting for dignity is a fight never done.
Here, here.
Yes.
I'm just going to do two short little ones. Again, I like to play with my thoughts to see if they make me feel better. In a dark world, be the light. Light the way, light the day from the night. When you light your lamp and shine it forth, it brightens my way as well. In a darkened world, being the light is an act of revolution.
Shine on, shine on.
I have the privilege of winning a contest that my member of provincial parliament did. She appealed to all the poets in St. Paul's in 2023 to write a poem that she could read in the legislature. I'm very happy to report that my poem won, and this is it. And I dedicate it to the people in this room. It's called An Ode to the Cultural Worker. The poet, the writer, the singer, the dancer, the composer, the photographer, the dreamer, the painter, the musician, the seer. For you who value the cultural workers, this is for you. Cultural workers devote and most often donate their skills, products, talent, service, time, labor, and space. They document history and the continuity of society. They ponder, ruminate, question, provoke, create, and build, then offer these gifts so that all humanity can benefit by their philosophy of possibility. Are colors important and image succinct? What people see and how societies behave are very often linked. Do you care if a school child learns rhythm or team play? Can you count to 10 and then count backwards again? Hickory dickory dock, do you relate to life by punching a clock? A job well done is a person fulfilled, so who cares if cultural enrichment is instilled? I know you do, that's why you're listening to this. Culture is born of ideas, hit or miss. Culture is born by people's sweat. We can't fake it or take it for granted. We must take it in stride. We must take it with pride. We need to thank you. We need to. Thank you for
Welcome Dylan B., who again is a young member of Socialist Action, a traveler, a teacher in training, he says, but I'm sure he's a great teacher even now. A student, language learner, someone struggling against all forms of bourgeois nationalism and who is fighting for a working class agenda instead. Dylan is a young member of Socialist Action. Tonight he is performing for the first time stand-up comedy. Get ready to laugh. I'm sure it'll be great. I was the one who called for this, so it's all on me. Thank you so much, Dylan. I'm sure you're going to be amazing. I'm sure you're going to be amazing. You don't need me.
Thank you.
You're good.
All right, so thank you very much. Unfortunately, due to scheduling constraints, I will have to make this a little bit shorter than I would have liked, but hey, that's life, am I right?
Yeah.
So, happy International Workers' Day! A round of applause for every nurse, barista, construction worker, teacher, warehouse lifter, janitor, bus driver, and everyone forced to smile through team building exercises at minimum wage. They give us 1 day to celebrate workers, just one. I mean, it's not even technically this one here in Canada. We're going to have to wait all the way until September, am I right? The rest of the year is for HR emails that say, "We value you," followed by a 6-month schedule of unpaid overtime and 0 benefits. Let's talk about what working people in Canada are really dealing with, shall we? Short-sighted climate policy and fossil fuels. Canada's climate strategy is like trying to put out a wildfire with a squirt gun, then selling machines and gasoline on the side, no less. We've got oil companies getting public subsidies while communities are choking on wildfire smoke. Last summer, we couldn't breathe in Montreal for 3 weeks, but don't worry, Justin Trudeau tweeted about it. He said, "We hear your concern about the environment." Yeah, well, you know what I hear? The sound of glaciers melting, and they're not whispering. And we own the Trans Mountain Pipeline, like we, the public, literally bought it. Imagine inheriting public healthcare, public schools, and a public oil pipeline. I thought we were building socialism, not shellism. Housing in this country is a luxury sport. In Toronto, the average rent for a 1-bedroom is over $2,500. For that price, the walls had better sing to me at night and validate my childhood trauma while giving me a pedicure for that price. And politicians say the market will correct itself. Yeah, by kicking every working class person outside of the city. Meanwhile, they blame who but immigrants. Too many newcomers driving up demand. Oh sure, that's what's driving up demand, and not foreign investors, not Airbnbs turning every duplex into a zombie hotel, and not absolute refusal to implement any kind of rent cap to fill the pockets of the landlords who are profiting from all of this. Welcome to Canada. We're so proud of our diversity. Now here's a tent behind a Costco. Good luck! Not to mention reconciliation, which is the political version of, oh, I'm sending my thoughts and prayers. Every meeting starts with a land acknowledgement. We're gathered here today on the unceded territory of whichever applicable nation, and then we bulldoze it for a logging road.
Thank you. Familiar.
They said no to a pipeline, so the RCMP showed up with snipers. Snipers. Meanwhile, Indigenous kids don't even have clear drinking water. And politicians are like, we're working on it. Yeah, you've had more than 150 years to work on it. What's the plan? Wait for Nestle, no less, to sponsor the reserves? And how could we forget about Palestine? You say free Palestine in this country, and suddenly the cops are asking if your sign, you know, which you bought from Dollarama yesterday and made with art supplies in your house, is a weapon that can be used to kill civilians. That's not a weapon that can be used to kill civilians, but you know what is? All the ones that we send to Israel with taxpayers' money every damn minute, every damn hour, every damn day, every damn week, every year. We want university students, teenagers, no less, suspended for holding peaceful sit-ins and encampments. City halls cancel events. Charities get deregistered. Charities, like if you're going to target something, why are you going after the charities? Meanwhile, we, you know, keep sending anything we want to Israel, and apparently that's what's not political. You can get arrested in Quebec for chanting from the river to the sea, but the politician can openly support arms deals and get a diplomatic post. Oh, you see, when they say things, it's policy. When you say it, it's terrorism. Give me a break. So yeah, this system is rigged, but here's what they can't cancel, co-op or gentrify. Solidarity. You want housing justice? Worker power. You want real reconciliation? Land back. You want peace in Palestine? Defund war and fund the essentials of life. You want dignity? Stand together, because we built this world, not the billionaires. Without us, nothing runs, nothing moves, and nothing works. And when we stop, they panic. So don't let them convince you you're small. You are the engine of everything. Power to the people, power to the workers, happy May Day, and free Palestine!
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Thank you so much, much appreciated. Much appreciated.
You have to stop mincing words.
No, that was fantastic. I really appreciate that, Dylan. Now I would like to welcome Patrick Connors to the stage. His first chapbook, Scarborough Songs, was released by Lyrical Miracle Press in 2013 and charted on the Toronto Poetry Map. He has been published in Dissident Voice, as well as Blue Collar Review, People's Voice, Rabble Review, Bezine, and Tamarax. His first collection, The Other Life, was released in 2021 by Mosaic Press. His most recent chapbook, Worth the Wait, was released in 2023 by Cactus Press. His latest collection, The Long Defeat, was released last year by Mosaic Press. I'd like to welcome Patrick Connors to the floor. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. I'm going to use the stool.
All right.
Yes.
I'll take it.
Thank you very much, Corey. Hasn't Corey done a fantastic job hosting tonight, everybody?
Thank you. Make it work, right?
So much a thing in our movement is about who we're pissed off at and angry at, and we have a lot to be pissed off and angry at. But you know who I love and I'm very grateful for is Judy Purley and Free Times Cafe. Woo! Judy Purley has been my friend for a long time. She lets me do a lot of these political things here, like 100,000 Poets for Change, and I'm honored to read here tonight. And Free Times Cafe has been a huge supporter of Socialist Action for a long time. The Socialist Action Party has been here for a long time. And we have to acknowledge that Judy and Socialist Action are kind of a family. I'm going to dedicate my first poem to our dear friend, the great poet and griot, Dane Swan, Toil. Blinded by beams of mind-numbing light from a soulless fluorescent sun, you begin another nameless day. The air crackles, bolts of static, buzzes and hums its monotone din, which makes hearing hard and hearts harder. Surrounded by a sea of hope gone cold, you hold your breath and jump feet first, not knowing when you will hit ground. You are a digger. You trace a line around common courtesy. You trace a line with common courtesy around basic humanity and then cut into it. You dig, try to dig to get below the surface. Sorry, I'm going blind in my middle age. You dig, try to get below the surface. The terrain is bare and unyielding, so you dig and you dig some more. You are not sure of what you will find, how to recognize the results of your work, if they are real or have any value to anyone. Sorry for screwing that up. Thank you very much to Barry. Thank you very much for Socialist Action for providing me this forum. Julius, wonderful job. Everybody, John Clarke, I believe, is left. I think that John Clarke is one of the great thinkers and one of the great speakers, and he doesn't get his due. I mean, he deserves his props.
Sure, for sure. Here.
The greatest man I've ever known in my life is Mr. Charles Roach, such as this. My well-meaning heart cannot contain the world or even its petty desires. What lies outside of me is bigger than I am, the pains and hopes and dreams of everyone I see. So much more than I can comprehend exists in the land I see and think I know. Because when I show up for a moment such as this, someone could be hungry, someone may have died, someone may be impatient for change other than me. Someone may not want to hear the sob story I have prepared for a moment such as this. And of course, if I'm going to give respect to Mr. John, I have to give love and respect to Uncle Learie. So we just had an election this week. So imagine that Justin Trudeau was giving advice to Mark Carney. It's a comical poem. Exit poll, advice to the new leader. 1, promises are made to be broken like rotten eggs, but not until the morning after the election. 2, the current state of affairs is merely your reaction to mistakes others have made in the past. 3, give the people what they want, visions of fresh young faces, sunny summer picnics, and reduced deficit spending, but don't let them realize a better tomorrow. 4, because the next administration will have to take it back. 5, fiscal restraint is what makes our civilization great, or at least it will keep the current system chugging along a bit longer. 6, a balanced budget should almost make up for all those pesky poor people. Steve, you should have been on the mic. You've always helped me because of my loud voice. There's always reverb here anyways. Thank you. No, you're doing a fine job. Thank you. So, I mean, austerity has caused so many problems. I mean, people who like are university educated and like have what used to be a middle income job. A middle income job is really more like 62 to 82,000 at least. Are having to rely on food security systems, and that's not a sin. There's nothing wrong with that, but this is like what's happening. Downtime. She turned the key to her apartment door. She wished this was the end of her day, a chance to put on sweats and collapse, but she only had enough of a break to make dinner for her children. She took time to say hello. What are you watching on TV? Is your homework done? She processed the mail, mostly bills, as well as answering machine messages offering extra shifts she couldn't work because she already had to work. In the refrigerator, she found butter, orange juice, and a wilted head of lettuce. In the cupboard was one lonely can of beef stew. She would have had to find something to eat at her overnight job and go to the food bank in the morning when she would usually sleep. Her son tugged at her pant leg. She softly said she was getting his dinner ready before she went back to work. He cried and begged her to stay. Her daughter used a hockey stick to slap a tennis ball against the bare wall where her grandmother's china cabinet used to be. Would you both please stop? She asked, but her son cried more and her daughter's slap shots got louder. As the stew was about to start simmering, the power went out. She slammed the spatula against the stove. I didn't graduate university to end up like this. I know, it's always happy-go-lucky poems here.
No, we're deep thinkers.
It's real life.
How much time do I have?
A few minutes.
5 minutes? Okay. If you want to hear more, on Wednesday, May the 7th, I'm reading with the very lovely and talented Janine Pitas at Foy House on Isabella Street. You guys should come and check it out. I'm going to probably read a lot of these poems again, so you can just tune me out while I'm reading.
7 p.m.
I debuted this here for 100,000 Poets, and I'm going to read it here now. The Children. Don't blame the children. The way of the world is not their fault. It is my generation that caused this mess. We used to believe in things like ban the bomb and free the whales until we grew up and got jobs and accumulated things. Love the children. Even though they are so big and loud and youthful, they are also beautiful and fragile, and they need our help. It is time to believe again. It's time to get beyond fear and comfort. It's time to feel something else before it's too late. Listen to the children. They are the future, and they know how to change and make everything better. Remember, we all once had this glorious hope. So, thank you. Palestine obviously informed this poem, and also Ukraine, even though obviously the Ukraine situation is very complicated because obviously there was a fascist thing going on that helped start all this. But anyways, I've had enough. The world is on fire. It is ready to explode. A piece of it probably just blew up. If we are silent while our brothers and sisters scream, then we are part of the problem. I am tired of being responsible or somewhat to blame or even a somewhat innocent bystander. I am fed up with the well-rehearsed rhetoric of leaders who claim they want opportunity, safety, and security for all people, but continue to support the way things are. I am numbed by a world which can never have enough. Enough things, enough pain, enough destruction, enough conquest. Enough of the desolate hunger of greed. Enough of the misery of the vulnerable. Enough of the primacy of systemic hatred. Enough! See, the reverb actually helps with that one. Thank you. So 2 more short ones, shortish ones. In 2017, I had the honor of having a book published in Cuba. Our brothers in Sand Crab Press, and launched in the beautiful Pearl of Ibarra, Cuba. If you guys have been to Holguin province, it was unbelievable experience. People, they go to the resorts and they say the food is crap. I had some of the best meals of my life while I was there and met so many beautiful people. Freedom. We are in a place where only now matters. The art and science of planning are thrown into the warm, salty ocean, pulled away from shore by the undertow. No agendas, no ulterior motives, only genuineness. Share and experience yourself, each other. A meal you would never have eaten before that could be the best one of your life. With a couple of beers to quench the thirst you can only get in a place like this. But I do not need more than enough. People I love but don't always encounter embrace me as one of their own, like we have known each other longer than I have been alive. My gracious host, Jorge, this was just before Trump put the embargo back on. My gracious host says, "It is a good thing you are here, amigo, in the real Cuba, where it still is, now that the embargo has been lifted, before the changes come. I want to support them, whatever this means. I want to be a part of this place, their lives. Forever I will carry this desire in my heart as a part of me." You know what, I have one more. I'm going to save this to debut on Wednesday night. It's the Zip poem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again to Patrick Connors. Beautiful and very timely poems. I now, after much ado, would like to welcome Bill Heffernan to the stage to perform. Bill Heffernan, I'm not sure if he stepped out for a moment. Am I missing him?
Just getting his guitar.
Oh, okay, fantastic. I see him now. He's a singer-songwriter, activist, and a co-founder of Casa Canadienne Pueblito, Canada, a small Canadian NGO, a co-founder of the Alive Poets Society, and he performs at the bi-monthly Saturday Sessions music series, now in the 20th year on Roncesvalles Avenue in Toronto. Roncy. Many of his songs and poems are steeped in social justice issues, and one of his songs is enshrined in the Hockey Hall of Fame. He's a retired teacher and counselor. Bill in 2014 was awarded the lifetime membership in OECTA, his teachers union, for his work on social justice. OECTA, on his work for social justice issues. I'd like everyone to welcome Bill to the stage. Thank you so much. Do what you gotta do. Well, I don't want to go too long. No, do what you gotta do. You're running late. It's not your fault. Do what you gotta do.
Hello again, everybody. Nice to be back again this year. I'm going to slightly shorten my presentation tonight because we still got the lucky draw and there's still someone after me. It's been a very rich night. Thank you, Barry, and all the organizers. But I'm going to truncate it a little bit just for the sake of where we are on the clock tonight. And I'm going to start with one poem. I've brought a special guest from the Allied Poets Society, TJ. He'll do a poem. And then if there's time, I'll pull the guitar out and sing a song. But I really, want to have the evening come to a reasonable conclusion, and there's still stuff to do. So great to be here. 15 years ago, I went to Palestine, Israel. There was a rebel priest in Toronto. He just retired from doing this, but did this for many years. He would set up a tour with a reputable tour agency in North York. I won't mention any names. And we would go under the auspices of visiting the Holy Land for a pilgrimage run by a Catholic priest. When we got there, he did this for 15, 20 years, hired the same bus driver. And when we got there, ripped up the itinerary from the reputable Holy Land pilgrimage, and we did our thing. And we met with, this particular year was 2010, we met with a total of 16 groups, 8 Palestinian, 8 Jewish, who were working for peace. And it was just it was amazing. We got to the wall, the separation wall in Bethlehem. We traveled everywhere in the country except we couldn't get into Gaza. And this, what I'm writing, is 15 years ago. And it's only gotten worse. When I got to that separation wall, they allowed us to write on the wall. And there was, as you can imagine, a lot of graffiti. And I just didn't feel like writing F you or something like, I just did, it wasn't, I'm sitting at the wall and badly taught grade 10 poetry came back to me. I don't know what you think about Robert Frost. I kind of like Milton Acorn, but anyways, I'm at that wall and I couldn't resist. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down, down, down with the separation wall. Up, up, up with a reparation call. A reparation call for all those that suffered the NABCA, suffered the camps, suffered as refugees at home, standing alone, whose land has been pilfered, whose water has been filtered into the hands of the oppressor, who profess some divine right to defend that which has been stolen. Stolen from you You with no reciprocal rights or rights to right the wrongs. Even writs of international law written in your favor, ignored. Even writs that denounce the illegal settlements, yet no settlement of claims or reparation for you. No writs for a return to that which is rightfully yours, your orchards, your farms, your homes, bulldozed and paved over. No writ for a return to dignity, a return to enterprise, a return to home, a return to hope, a return to anything you used to know, anything, something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down with the separation wall. Before I'd build a wall or a fence, I'd ask what I was walling in and walling out, and to whom it might give offense. Something there is that doesn't love a wall, that wants it down with the separation wall. Up with a reparation call. Up with a just and meet reparation call. From the Alive Poets Society, my good friend and colleague for many years, TJ.
Good evening, everyone.
Multiplicity of
My name is Tony. I'm happy to be here. Whoops. And thanks to Billy Heffernan for bringing me here. This thing is called the Dogs of War. The dogs of war are barking. Someone is constantly telling us what we should or shouldn't do. The blood-sucking vampires are real as the day that sheds light on the violent display. Abomination and madness rule the day as we hide from the truth and the life we lay. The dogs of war are grinders of flesh, Milgram, doing what we're told best. Ghostly shadows, screams, echoes, phosphorus white, like colonial power acid, bleaching, gleaming the power of white, color cleansing the earth of Abraham's kin and colored citizens alike, everywhere. The gods of war are, the dogs of war are mating. Your land is my land, given by God, a promise to his people. We justify death and destruction. In the pursuit of evil, he leaves rotting unburied flesh, the malodorous revolting perfumes of death and hell united. The dogs of war are howling, victory from the river to the sea. Balfour declared Zion on earth and the right of return, branded by British colonial declaration. The tale of Isaac and Ishmael, a war of divine attrition, where winners and losers lose their souls to profit. In a vast graveyard, decorated with fragments of Yankee munitions as funeral bouquets to our abject apathy. The dogs of war pissing in our fire hydrant memories of the Middle Passage, Auschwitz and Treblinka, the killing fields of Cambodia, the bombings in Kenya, and ghettos like Soweto and Gaza. Bow to two oppressors when they take what they get. It's sure to hurt, but it's not finished yet. Thank you.
I would like to remind everyone tomorrow is Saturday, May 3rd. You can join Socialist Action at Toronto City Hall, Nathan Phillips Square, for May Day rally in March for National Workers' Day, 12 noon.
We're meeting at 12.
At 12 noon, I believe, we're congregating in the square there. 12 noon, yeah. That's
near the corner of Queen and Bay.
Yeah, Nathan Phillips Square.
Because there's another event in the square. Sorry.
Is there? Oh, okay. Okay.
But we're going to be on the south side of
at 12 noon, we'll be at Toronto City Square for May Day rally in March. Socialist Action will be celebrating the 31st anniversary of Socialist Action by hosting an international educational conference online. It will be held on Saturday, June 7th. And Emily Steers, who was going to perform here tonight, but due to scheduling issues was unable, will be performing there. So if you're looking to see her, she will be there, and she's a great performer. So we'd like to celebrate her there. It will be excellent topics, world-class speakers, and hot discussions. So please mark June 7th on your calendar for members and for folks who asked to join. Please know the Socialist Action Convention will be held in person in Toronto and online a week later on Saturday, June 14th. For more information about Socialist Action conferences, forums, film nights, and study groups held throughout the year, please send your phone numbers and email address to us at the SA website, www.socialistaction.ca.